Yes, sir, we promised you a great deal here tonight.
Andre, the China Wrestlemania!
Wrestlemania is running wild!
My God, what a It's not the world is watching!
What's up, everyone? Coming off a very somber show that we did. Recording was actually this past week on the great Scott Hall. We're going to come into some more fun times here, getting to know Adam Simmons, who is not only an AFS top guy, but an Adam. Shake your head if I'm correct on this. You're a low-key big hog as well, right? That's what I thought. Yeah. So we're going to get into, as we always do here, how that all occurred, wrestling fandom, everything, life, this pay-per-view. We're going to be watching Wrestlemania 13. And we're going to talk sports. Phil's not here, so it's going to be Sports Guy Theater. And we're just going to have a great time. That's what we typically do here. And the filters are off. We're part of the filter-free network. So the filters are off, and away we go. Hello, buona noche. How are you?
What's up? What's up?
All right, so I will just peek behind the curtain. We're starting a half an hour late because my dumbass had a computer problem. So we'll go around the room and we're going to get right into this. So Adam, we're going to start with you, my man. How are you tonight?
I'm well, Frank. Chilling and hanging.
Chilling and hanging. All right, I love that. That's the story of my life, which is why I have flabby man breasts. Brandy, my dear.
Mine are growing, brother.
Yeah. Shit. Brandy, my dear, how are you? Brandy actually getting smaller.
I am.
Gonna be a ghost before we know it.
Right. I will tell you this. Brandy sent me a picture the other day, and she's like, I'm so scared. Like, I don't normally do this. Like, it was her, like, very much vulnerable, tight clothes on. And if you go back and watch, like, the first episode she was ever on to now, she's, like, half gone. So she's doing a fantastic job, and we love to see that. I mean, I loved her the way she was before, but if she's happier and healthier now, that's all that matters, right?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm doing good. We're recording this on a Saturday, so it is hockey game day. Go Sharks!
Game night.
Boo. And well, there's a good lead in. Tits Now. Oh, I don't even want to know. Has returned from his exodus, and it wasn't an exodus. It was I need a break.
Yeah.
Fresh off of his return, he showed us that somebody decided to, get busy on his bus the other night.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Behind.
It was sticking to the
whenever the mood strikes you.
Right. I mean, let me ask you this, Antonio. Do you not? Yeah. Henry, thank you. You're going to be our producer.
You got it, boss.
And Antonio, can you not see what's going on in the bus? Is there not a huge mirror up top for you?
No. Well, I can see what's going on behind it, but this is when I was getting the bus at the station. Somebody forgot to clean off the used condom.
Oh my God!
I mean, at least they were practicing safe sex.
So you saw it post show, huh, Antonio? You didn't get to see the live show. You saw the post show.
Yeah, I saw the post show.
Nobody likes the post show, even whether it's football, hockey, or what. We want the main event.
Right. Oh,
yeah.
Wow. I'm in a fishbowl. Help. That would be missing in the plan ahead. Who changed that on him?
Who, Henry, did you change that? I didn't
Oh, I
realize
forgot you could do that on here.
Well,
that's right.
Well, for
I
those
did
of you
that
that
like
are
20
new,
minutes ago before we started recording. I was waiting for you to notice on your own.
I did not notice that. As people know, I'm not very observant, but I am into poetry. So here's a little one to get us started tonight.
Oh, yeah.
WrestleMania 13 is the place to be. Adam Simmons, you're my favorite because you're a Charlotte Flair fan, just like me.
Oh my God.
And he knows I'm not very observant, but he's a CPA.
Bow to the queen.
Oh God.
She's wonderful.
Woo!
Oh yeah, somebody mute him. Henry.
Uh-oh, 2 mutes.
Henry.
To the queef.
Did you say queef?
Hey now.
Is that a word anymore?
Yes.
Yes.
Society is a thing, and if you need to know what that is, UrbanDictionary.com is your friend.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that on this show. Go ahead, Henry.
I'm doing great tonight, Frank. How are you?
Looks like you upgraded your home. It looks beautiful.
It's one of those backgrounds that's here in StreamYard. My studio's not set up yet.
I was about to say that white couch. I'm gonna come over and Rick James it. Fuck your couch, bitch.
Just give it a Cleveland steamer. It'll make it look better. Get a character.
There you go.
That's fantastic. All right, everybody. We are going to watch WrestleMania 13. I actually have not watched the show in a little while, so I'm really excited. A lot of people shit on some of the undercard, but it's really not all that bad. I mean, Ahmed's in it, so I guess, well, that's not a good case for me.
That ain't a pro for it.
Yeah. What'd you say?
Goldust. I said that ain't a pro for it. Ahmed being it, but Goldust and Triple H put on a pretty good match, I thought.
Which I have to be honest with you, we're gonna skip. But
that's fine.
Well,
This is wrapped around one match for sure.
Oh yeah,
this is the match of all matches,
and we will be watching that match. So everybody, go to the cock, and we're gonna go to this thing that are not.
You're talking about the app, right?
Yes, the app, ass clown. Tits Now.
It's pull up the cock, not pull out the cock.
There you go. Right. So
First you do one, then you do the other.
What if I do
obviously go to WrestleMania? It should be pretty prominent now, because it's WrestleMania season. Find season 13, obviously episode 1. And when everyone's there, we're going to watch the open, and then we're going to jump over to Rocky Maivia and the Sultan. But we are going to listen to the open. So when everyone's there, let me know.
I'm good.
I've been there for 45 minutes.
Okay.
I'm good.
Well, then you must have some blue balls. All right. So, Adam, you're our guest. So you'll do the 3, 2, 1 play for us.
All righty. We ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, play.
It's traditionally the grandest night in the World Wrestling Federation. WrestleMania, the great spectacle, the granddaddy of sports entertainment. A magical night where dreams become reality, where legends stand immortal, where incredible feats of athleticism are indelibly etched in the annals of time. But this year, a tempest engulfs utopia. This year, clouds of hatred and anger have eclipsed the heavens, shed darkness upon the gods. We've watched as our heroes step down from their pedestals, witnessed malicious attacks by a depraved nation, beheld the dark, disturbing flashes from a once benevolent force. Tonight, 3 determined men unite to wage war against an evil nation. Their battleground, the cold, unforgiving streets of Chicago. Tonight, 2 giants appear willing to shed their noble armor, to embrace their dark side, to possess the coveted gold. And tonight, 2 angry young men destined to destroy each other will endure intolerable pain in a brutal submission match. It's WrestleMania, the showcase of the immortals, the greatest night in sports entertainment. It's supposed to be a night of celebration, a time to rejoice. But tonight, none of these men are smiling. And now, WrestleMania 13.
It's always kind of fun to go back and hear Vince on that opening call.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Right, what we're gonna do now, guys, is we're gonna jump to 2209.
2209.
I don't know if anybody noticed while we're reliving that. I have this stupid grin plaster on my face because there's just nothing like those old opens. We need a good dramatic monologue with a beautiful video package.
Being honest, I haven't liked the opens they've had the last couple of years with the pirate videos. Those just to me have not been as good. I'm hoping for something a little different for this year.
Honestly, you don't need anything fancy. This is just a
pause it there, Frank, or let it play.
Over the video.
Pause it there, and we'll do it.
Okay.
We do another. We'll do another quick countdown.
And once we
All right.
do the countdown, I have my first query for the night that I'd like to introduce right at the start of the show, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Is everybody there? 22 minutes, 9 seconds.
Give me a.
We're there. Hey guys, before we press play, get that countdown on, I want to give you all another shout out of props. That Scott Hall tribute episode was excellent. Very, of course, timely.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually listened to it probably 2 hours before we're recording this.
Awesome. Yeah, I dropped it today. I don't want to overshadow what we did, like our Friday drop, but which was really good with Matt M. He was right before he went to Revolution. And it was a great show. And just so everybody knows, too, I've gotten my hands on the archives from when TJ hosted the show. So I downloaded about 14 episodes today. So I'm going to start. Actually, Adam, you're a part of the Patreon, right?
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to start dropping we call them TGT Classics there.
Okay.
So
great.
It'll be fun to see kind of what it was like. That we started, was it like 2 years ago, Brandy?
Dang,
something like that. I wasn't even a part of the first set of episodes. I didn't come in till like midway through the first year, like maybe 2 or 3 months in.
We started in the fall of 2020, so it'll be it'll be 2 years. Shit.
I think me and Frank were the ones that been here since the beginning. Right?
Those are the OGs.
Yep.
But I think Rocco did an excellent job conveying how a lot of us, feel. So definitely. that was a real good, impactful part of it. So yeah, it was great.
Are we all
highly recommended, guys? Go back, check out the Scott Hall tribute.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate that, Adam. I really do. It means a lot to hear that from somebody that watches us all the time. So I really appreciate that.
You got it, man.
Are we there? Are we at 2209? Everybody's there?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Of course, there's my phone doing. I'm having all sorts of technical problems tonight. I don't even know what to do with myself anymore.
Is there a nor'easter blowing up there?
It's how you think. Oh, here we go. In 3, 2, 1, play. And what is your query, Mr. Michael?
So I want to actually go to Top Guy Theater Twitter because I sent out a tweet earlier today, and it just kind of something that popped into my head, and I knew we were talking about WrestleMania. And the question that I have, and something we can kind of think about for the overarching arc of the show is, who are the competitors or competitors from past or present that never had a quote-unquote WrestleMania moment? And to define that, it means they never actually competed on a WrestleMania card or had a presence at WrestleMania. And I have to say, I was very appreciative of the Top Guy Theater Twitter response just to kind of get the conversation started. Some of the names I saw on there were Brian Pillman and Mance Warner was mentioned by a few people, especially people that were fans of the Ad Free Shows program, Mansplaining, for kind of a more current local wrestler. I know a John Grisham was mentioned. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name. And then Magnum TA was also mentioned. So just some really, really good responses. But something I thought could be an interesting discussion point, because WrestleMania moment has kind of become a buzzword over several years. And Adam mentioned it earlier. There is a classic moment and probably one of the marquee WrestleMania matches of all time on tonight's card. So just thought it might be an interesting discussion to kind of get us started, and we can kind of talk about it throughout the show. But in addition to talking about that, Adam, we also want to get to know you. And you were giving us a little bit of the backstory while Frank was getting set up. But can you just maybe tell us a little bit about your involvement with ad-free shows, Low-Key Big Hog, Patreon, Tony Schiavone's, and how you got started with the podcast? I know you said your favorites are 83 Weeks, What Happened When, and My World, and something to wrestle with as well, I believe. But if you want to give us a little bit of background to get us started, that'd be fantastic.
Sure, Michael. I'm like a lot of wrestling fans. I watched it wholeheartedly. I can remember being either 6 or 7 years old. Me and my dad watching on a Sunday morning. First, it was Dallas World Class Championship Wrestling, the Von Erichs, Freebirds, Gentleman Chris Adams. And then after that, it would be WWF. So that early is when I started, and then it kind of broke off. And then I remember probably about 2 years later being over at my grandma's house, Saturday night, 6:05. And that's when it wasn't at that time, but there was a certain bleach blonde gentleman with the sunglasses and the gold jewelry that whenever he spoke, you're like, man, this guy's just cool. He's sounding like at that age, you're like, well, he's cocky, but man, there's something about that guy. Well, then, I kind of left it a few years later, then enter my teens, and then you start developing appreciation for who people like Ric Flair was, and you start going, well, now it's not always that guy, you'd think he's cool, but it's like, now you know why he's cool, you know where I'm going, guy, pretty ladies, limousines, jet flying, all that good, there you go. Then left it again, enter about this time, shortly before this time is when guy at work, said, hey, I was watching wrestling the other night. So in the back of my mind, I was like, maybe I ought to turn this on. And right about the time I turned wrestling back on to where I was locked into it for a good 11 years straight period was about the time Monday Nitro, there was a certain, I knew him as Razor Ramon, walking down these steps saying the famous words, you know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. So, of course, like I said, locked into it for about a good 11 years straight at that point, then checked in and out between now when I first, about 2018, was something caught my curiosity and podcasts started coming big. So off and on kind of heard JR had a podcast. Well, I was telling Michael, I can't remember which one I got into first. It was either 83 Weeks or it was Grill and JR. But it wasn't just the big name that caught my attention. It was the co-host, or as we know, the real host, Conrad Thompson. So then, like I said, it was either 83 Weeks or Grill and JR. One of the two where I started, I was telling them that going through the iTunes store, and I saw the graphic for WHW, and I'm like, that looks like the WCW logo. So you go in there, you look under the description and stuff, and it mentioned Tony Schiavone. Well, I love Tony Schiavone as a kid, again, voice of my childhood, but I'm thinking, this is going to be interesting? I mean, Tony was always kind of reserved and laid back. Well, anybody that's never checked out What Happened When, you slap dick, go over there, check it out. It is a completely different Tony Schiavone. We get the real Tony Schiavone. So anyway, got hooked into those three and then found something to wrestle with. And then boom, Conrad started ad-free shows. It's like, I got to get that. Started off, I believe, as My Push. Then I was a top guy for a little while. And then things I was like, this ain't the right level for me because all the Zooms and stuff used to be like on the weekend. And I'm like, well, I worked weekends at that time. Now I work during the week. And it's kind of funny how that seems to be shifting. But anyway, that's where I came from and how I got locked in.
I have a follow-up, if you don't mind. One thing you said, and I want to focus in on just from a personal standpoint for me, is you mentioned watching wrestling at your grandmother's house. Was your grandmother a wrestling fan? And I asked that because before I had free shows, the person I used to watch all my wrestling with, and she was into it with her dad, as I've said many times on the show, was my grandmother was into wrestling because of her dad, but then she kind of didn't watch for years till I got interested in it, and then she watched with me. So I just was wondering, was your grandmother a wrestling fan, or did it just happen to be that was where you watched it?
Not really. I think mainly we just put it on there. Again, I was probably 8 years old at this time. She put it on there because I think she was wanting to watch Andy Griffith later. And I mean, she didn't hate wrestling, but I was her favorite grandchild, so it's like, oh, leave it here. She would totally leave it there for me, and it just kind of became a semi-regular thing when I was
Okay.
over at Grandma's on Saturday. Hey, we'll just keep it on the wrestling, and then Andy Griffith, and that was it.
Cool. I just wanted to ask that, and I want to actually, we're in the past now at WrestleMania 13, but I want to go back to the future for 1 second because I want to get this question out of the way so it doesn't drive everybody nuts for the whole show. But because I've never met anybody else that falls into the same bucket as me, would you please take a minute or two to tell us about your Charlotte Flair fandom?
Oh, Jesus.
Well, and it starts. I mean, you can look at Charlotte. Take away her last name. I mean, she is a genetic specimen. I mean, you can legitimately look at Charlotte Flair and be like, I mean, she's so athletic, she's so charismatic, she's obviously beautiful, but she's believable. And I'm a big WWE guy, always will be. But you look at most of them people, whether they're male or female nowadays, and you're like, they can't work. Charlotte Flair, nobody can say she can't work. But I had to be 100% honest. Ric Flair, everybody has the Mount Rushmore conversation. I tend to break my Mount Rushmores down into categories like overall performer, workers, promos, on down the list. Ric Flair's on the Mount Rushmore of all of them for me. I mean, I'm a huge Ric Flair mark. I mean, again, that's probably my age, but Ric Flair's undeniable in my opinion. He's still relevant 50 years later. So.
Oh my God! Of course he is. I mean, I gotta say, I was playing Madden today, and one of the I scored a touchdown, and one of the signature moves is like the Ric Flair on Madden.
Oh yeah.
And on the topic of Ric Flair too, just something to mention here for ad-free shows. If you're the Slapnut tier or above, I believe it's on April 5th. They're going to do another one of the Ric Flair watch-alongs. I believe this time it's his match with Steamboat, or not Steamboat.
No, Savage.
Randy Savage from WrestleMania 8, another classic match.
Yes.
I believe the last time we had Ric Flair on ad-free shows, it was our record Zoom with upwards of over 200 people. So I just wanted to mention that and throw that little plug out there. For anybody thinking about joining ad-free shows, as Adam has demonstrated tonight, you're going to get more than your money's worth, and there's some really exciting things going on.
Absolutely. I will say more than your money's worth is actually a really good way to put it, because, I mean, honestly, there's so many Zooms now, I can't go to all of them.
I agree.
No, even the few types that's working out for me, I don't go to all of them. But I kind of touched on it. Like I said, it seemed like the Zooms were predominantly on the weekend base. I switched my schedule because my daughter started kindergarten, so where I work overnight during the week, and now they're all during the week, which, like I put in a tweet out there, it doesn't bother me, because another great aspect of ad-free shows is those things drop, like, if not the next day, no more than 2 days later, and you can get it on demand, just like Top Guy Theater on the Filter Free Network. You get it on demand, and it's $29 or higher. It's the best wrestling content there is between ad-free shows, Filter Free Network. I prefer those over even Dynamite on Wednesday, if I'm honest. And that's something else I like AEW, but it's not the perfect company,
Yeah, well, Adam,
to
let's
interrupt,
definitely get
but
into that.
I
Go
do
ahead,
believe
Henry.
we've reached the end of the first match.
What's that?
We've reached the end of the Intercontinental title match, Frank.
Yep. Good old JR's talking to The Rock.
We have
Free Rock.
How far away am I?
Can we, while they're figuring that, I want to kind of focus in on something you said, Adam, because I think it's interesting, because I think it's evident tonight, even with when you talk about nostalgia and that, people sometimes tend to have what we might call the rose-colored glasses syndrome, where you look back on things in rose-colored glasses. And I think in some ways, and I love and have a ton of respect for AEW, its employees and its athletes, but do you think there's kind of a rose-colored glasses syndrome with AEW, where people were just thirsting and thriving for that WWE alternative that
I think
overstates the value of everything in AEW? I think it's a phenomenal wrestling company that has potential for exponential growth. I love AEW. Don't misunderstand me, but I'd love to get into how you said it's not a perfect wrestling promotion. I don't think we kind of hear that enough. So could you elaborate on that for us while we continue watching WrestleMania 13?
Yeah, hang on one second, guys. Before we do that, let's go to
Yeah, sure.
1 hour, 1 minute, and 7 seconds, and we're gonna finish the show. So there'll be no more interruptions like that. So we're gonna start at 101 and 7 seconds, and that's gonna be the tag team title match, and then we're going to the end. So let me know when you're all there.
I'm ready.
All right.
I was born ready.
Good, Brandy. How about you, Tits?
Give me a second. I'm trying to get up there.
I'm there whenever.
Is that what you say to your girl?
Are you watching along with us too? I'm in a fishbowl. Help.
I'm watching along, but I'm more here for the discussion, so I'm more just following along.
Well, Money Mike's
Discussion is always top shelf priority. I agree. We've seen this, or I've seen it.
Money Mike's Square got me going to sleep.
Exactly. I went to sleep during the Charlotte segment, so
easy.
How could you go to sleep when we're talking about the most wonderful person?
Oh,
like I said earlier,
wonderful.
Bow down to the queef.
Are you Jesus Christ? Are you there, Tits?
I'm trying to get there, but my TV's not agreeing with me.
You have a Roku?
Yeah, I got a Roku.
Well, Roku is wonderful. Could you
stop that?
We're all going to be saying it.
I'm sorry. I think it's funny.
It's going to become the word of the day on Top Guy Theater.
It is.
I'm gonna tell my wife tomorrow she's wonderful, and she's gonna be like, "What the are you saying?"
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
Right.
3 seconds.
Hold on just a second.
Oh God, Henry.
There we go. I'm there.
You good, Henry?
Just about.
I blew my load. I'm there.
Oh Lord.
Oh God.
Henry. Henry.
How many edits are we gonna have on?
I've been gone for like a couple months, and I come back, and
it only took him 27 minutes to fall back into the old pattern of calling Antonio Henry.
Hey, Money Mike, would you do me a favor?
Yeah.
I'm going to put something up on the screen real quick before we keep going with the show, and I'd like you to repeat that magical word, okay?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Wonderful.
No.
Oh God.
Now that I've got that out of my system.
I can't. I'm all out of sorts now. Are we good? Is everybody there?
We're ready.
Ready.
All right. In 3, 2, 1, play, and we should see the soon-to-be inducted into the Hall of Fame Vader. Go ahead, Adam. Answer that question.
About time. Oh, about AEW. Yeah, I think Michael. Yeah, I think initially, even I myself. Yeah, we were so hungry for something other than Raw or SmackDown, because especially then, I think we all can agree on whether it's like they didn't feel pressured to give it to us, or they just didn't care, which I don't believe that they didn't care. I think it was more they just didn't feel pressure. But the weak storylines, no significant push. I mean, I gotta tell everybody, WWE is very top heavy. Like, their biggest stars are the biggest stars in the world. I mean, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, the Queen, Becky, since she can no longer use the main. I mean, they are at the mountain. They are the pinnacle. Sorry to borrow a term from AEW, but they are the pinnacle of the wrestling world. But AEW, my thing, and again, I can tell Michael, I try to stay as positive as I can. But my biggest gripe with AEW, I'd say within the last 4 to 5 months, is they just kept acquiring talent to where they have so much talent that when they make a debut, you don't see nothing from them guys for like 3 to 4 weeks after that. It's like, hey, where's Jay Lethal? Where's so and so? Oh, check them out on YouTube. Well, doesn't set you up for success. Now, buying Ring of Honor, hopefully once they find a TV home, because I think that's a huge thing. I think you have to have a TV deal versus a streaming YouTube type deal, because if you want a lot of eyeballs, it's got to be a TV deal. Hopefully it'll. Go ahead, Henry.
See, I would disagree with that, because all of the other major sports leagues, most in particular the National Football League, is starting to move toward a streaming type deal. The most recent set of NFL contracts that were announced several months ago, They discussed about how when, for example, Sunday Night Football airs on NBC, you can also watch it on Peacock. Your Sunday slated games on CBS, you can watch on Paramount Plus. They're making the games that are Thursday night games, I think with the exception of the Thanksgiving Day game, which is still NBC's, exclusive to Amazon. I don't know what they're doing with Fox. I frankly don't care. And ABC is coming back into the fold along with ESPN Plus for Monday Night Football. I think once that starts to take off, a business model that Tony Khan is trying to pursue right at this moment in time, which is, yes, we have our brick and mortar TV deal, but we're also putting things over here on the internet that you can only see on YouTube that you're not going to be able to see on TV. And there, I think, since the sale of Ring of Honor included their library, it wouldn't surprise me when Warner Media spins into Discovery later this year if they don't create something similar to the old WWE network for that content.
All right, let me chime in here. I want to agree with Adam on something, because I think you do need a TV deal. But here's the thing: the difference with TV deals now is kind of what Henry went into, where, NFL has a TV deal with NBC, but if you don't have traditional cable, you can go to Peacock. So I think Ring of Honor was traditionally, for me here in Rhode Island, on Access TV at 1:00 in the morning on a Saturday, or Sunday. It was a Sunday actually, and that just didn't work for me. I'm not looking to watch new content at 1 a.m. I'm looking to go to sleep, or I'm already asleep. So I think if they were to say what Henry just said, if they were to Warner rolls into Paramount, or did you say Paramount or Discovery?
Warner Media is, I
Discovery.
guess, Discovery, and it's
right,
going
I
to
have
become
it.
one big happy family, I guess.
And you put Ring of Honor there, people will go and get it because Discovery Plus is more readily available to people. So I'm sorry, Access TV is not. Like the same thing with TNA. How do I watch TNA here? I don't. I have to go, and I'm sorry. When I watch wrestling, like besides now in this setting, I'm sitting on my bed or in my chair, like locked in on the content. So I'm not on the internet at that point in time, and I don't watch Dark, and I don't watch Dark Elevation because I don't want to go to YouTube to watch it. That's my honest opinion there. So I agree with both of you.
And I, if I could back that up, I agree actually with myself and Henry as well too. I think what professional wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, will get there. I just think there's going to be some time. The reason why the example you used, Henry, is successful, it's the NFL. And even non-sports fans will check out football, whether it's a Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, Thursday night. And then you got your passionate fans with, if my team's only going to be on, they'll find it on Amazon or something. But that's the NFL. That's the biggest beast there is. But I think wrestling will get there if it's done right. And there's certain things Tony Khan is doing correct. And then another thing with Tony Khan is I think he's a good booker, but I also think he's adding too much to his plate. I mean, he's booking Dynamite, he's booking Rampage, he's booking Dark, he's booking Elevation. Now he's got Ring of Honor. That's too much.
Yeah.
To where my other gripe with AEW right now is not everyone has a cohesive, ongoing storyline. Like MJF and Punk, man, that was fantastic. Yes, Hangman and Kenny Omega back, it was, a year-long punt. That was fantastic. But, and I hate to pick on them, but what's the best friends doing? They just show up, have match, and whoop-de-doo. Again, but that speaks to too much talent on what little they have to offer right now, in my opinion.
So real quick, we've got two hands up. I'm going to go to the first person, which it was Fishbowl.
So I want to kind of have two questions, different topics, but I want to focus on the streaming for 1 second. I want to take it in a different direction because I think wrestling companies eventually transitioning to more streaming platforms is essentially the inevitable. I think it's just the direction society's heading in. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. I think we're going to see it over the next, say, like people talk about 5-10 year plan. I think that's where we end up. I do think having those cable contracts, like say a Fox, a Comcast, or an NBC contract, they're very valuable. But I want to look at it from a different perspective because I noticed two things, and I talked about this actually, I believe, on the older version of the classic version of Top Guy Theater. So I want to look at streaming from two separate lenses. The first one is if you have a streaming product and you know that you have access to it the next day that it airs and you don't have to watch it live, does it take away? And I know there's things like DVR, which I use religiously because I'm not home all the time to watch things. But if it's on a streaming platform from two angles, first one, if it's on a streaming platform and it's just regular wrestling, does it remove some of the urgency to need to watch the product live if you know you can go catch it afterwards? And secondly, let's look at the WWE Network and the concept of this is looking at from a cash course or a money perspective. Pay-per-views used to be $50, $60 a month, and it used to seem like when you were paying that, a little bit more effort was put into it by the company, regardless of who the company was, to try to get you to buy the card. Whereas now, I always used to say that now with the WWE Network, now Peacock, the WWE can rely more on archival content to drive subscriptions, and it doesn't seem like they need to emphasize the current product as much. So I guess the question would be, do you see any downside towards moving toward the direction of streaming? Again, I think it's inevitable. I think we're headed that way, but I just wonder if there is any downside to that. And I'll start with Henry because I see you got your hand up. And Brandy, I know you had yours, so we can go to you after Henry.
I think what you've asked is a multifaceted question, and I'll start back at the beginning where you were talking get some of that content the day after it airs. With like first run shows on cable, you can. If, for example, I'm going to go back again. If I want to watch Sunday Night Football, the only other option, if I use Peacock, since they don't let you DVR and you can't watch the NFL games after they've happened, my only other option would be to use the NFL Network, which is, again, a streaming platform, but most people have that on cable versus spending the extra $70 a month to access every game all the time. I think, like you said, I believe it's inevitable. Don't believe that streaming is that first step, because using wrestling as an example again, you can't watch Monday Night Raw after it happens.
Right.
Have with the companies through which they do business require that you.
Henry, you're breaking up pretty bad.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you're going in and out. You might need to restart or something.
Yeah.
I have to be honest, it's the first time Henry's ever had internet problems. What's going on at the fishbowl?
Bingo.
There you are. Henry, you good?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's probably good because I was getting long-winded anyway. Best short answer question I can give to that right now with wrestling, unless you watch AEW, which you can watch anytime after it airs on TBS or TNT with their websites, you can't do that with WWE. You have to wait 30 days if you don't see it live, and even then,
that's right.
you get a
that's a good
downloaded
point.
version of Monday Night Raw. And as far as pay-per-views go, except for your smaller companies that need them for revenue, I think at some point that model will go away. WWE has gone to what they now call premium live events, which is bullshit. It's not a premium live event.
That's exactly how they advertise. So I'm going to WrestleMania Backlash, and that's exactly how it's like a premium live event is coming to the Dunkin' Donuts Center in Providence, Rhode Island. That's how it's a premium live event. I'm like, all right. Brandy, your thought? What you had your hand up before too. So, what are your thoughts on Mike's question, and what else were you gonna say?
We'll go back to what I was wanting to talk about first, and that's accessibility and platforms. When you have a super uber wrestling mark like myself, you have IWTV, you have New Japan World, you have Stardom World, and I'm constantly trolling for all the independent events that are happening and seeking out the ones that I want to watch. And that's always going to be a smaller market compared to the people who are going to go to the path of least resistance or the path of most easiest convenience to find their content, such as Frank. As far as like the pay-per-view model or the premium live event model, that is definitely going to go away for people who have television product or a streaming platform product that people can access. what you have to look at for the independents who don't have weekly content, unless you're like a Beyond Wrestling who runs the Wrestling Open or their Uncharted Territories, that's a weekly thing. That's going to still be their bread and butter. They're once a month available on IWTV or on Fight TV for purchase, because that's how their content is built. But for a television product, yeah, that you're going to see that become less of an emphasis, less of a focus. And I think AEW has an edge on WWE in that regard, because they make pay-per-views feel special, because they don't have that much of them and they build to them. That's why we enjoy coming to the AEW pay-per-views, because there aren't as many. So it's definitely something that's fluid, and we're going to continue to see a lot of changes as we navigate this new market that is the hybrid streaming system. So it's definitely interesting. And yes, any of my friends, I have all of those. And if you need access to these services, hit me up in the DMs.
Shh, don't tell everyone here we're password sharing. Let's Fishbowl
You're
real
not
quick.
Netflix.
So I have.
I just wanted to ask real quick. I wanted to ask Antonio his thoughts on what we were talking about.
Well, I kind of dazed out after Money Mike was talking, so you guys can move along.
Alrighty then. Go ahead.
So my question, and Brandy, I'll ask specifically to you because you mentioned all the streaming platforms you have, and then we can kind of go around the room with this one as well. Does streaming level the playing field in the sense that it gives more companies access to get exposure for their product? Or here's the thing, I know it does sometimes level the playing field, or does it oversaturate the market where there's almost too much? It can sometimes be like wrestling content overload, for lack of a better term. And how do you balance out the two? Is it just a matter of personal choice and knowing not everybody's going to gravitate toward everything? Or do you run a risk of people getting maybe wrestling access burnout almost?
So what you have is it does level the playing field for a lot of these smaller companies who will never have a snowball's chance, and you know fucking what, to get on television, to get major exposure across the country or across the world. When you are, unless you're like a mega indie, like a Beyond Wrestling or a PWG that kind of gains notoriety and people around the world know about you, that's how these smaller companies like a AAW Pro, like a GCW, catch on with fans and get exposure. But you do have that issue of wrestling content overload, because if you look at any of these streaming services, there is so much, but you have to learn to seek out. And this is something I've noticed a lot with like the book talk community on TikTok. Don't be afraid to try something and be like, you know what? I'm just not vibing with this. This is just not my speed, not my style. That's okay. You just got to find the stuff that you vibe with, the style of wrestling that you like, because there's going to be a company or multiple companies that put out a product that you are in touch with and you seek out to find. So it's a big buffet. There's plenty for everybody. There's all kinds of different variations. You just got to dive in and find and see what you like.
Yeah, like it's
sharks. Dive in, sharks. I got one in.
To me, like there's no overload of content. Like you just knowing that everything is there at your fingertips if you want to watch it or not makes you like, sweet, I could watch New Japan if I wanted to, or like GCW, or I don't know about IWC, but you know what I mean.
Let me say this. We're all talking about streaming. I realized the other day that between all of the, because I have most of them, like I've got most of the major ones, like I have Netflix, I've got Peacock, I've got why am I drawing a blank like an idiot? Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus. You've got
HBO Max.
there's
Discovery
not like
Plus.
sharing going on here.
Well, right. And so I'm spending probably $100 a month on streaming services.
Can I offer an interjection into that point, though, Frank? Because think about something else. Because I kind of was thinking about that too. People often will make the argument, I get rid of satellite or I get rid of cable because my streaming costs almost as much as that. But think about something with streaming, and this is something I don't think people focus on enough with streaming. You get a product like, say, a Disney Plus or a Netflix, and Disney Plus is probably a better example. Or actually, let's use Peacock with WWE for this example. And I'm a bad person to use the example for because I still do it, but I buy all the WWE DVDs, which used to be about $20 a month for whatever the previous pay-per-view was, maybe $30 if it's the WrestleMania Blu-ray. But think about this. You might be spending, it might seem like you're spending a lot in content, but I guarantee you for most people, it's not just a TV viewing thing. It's the opportunity to be able to go back and review it whenever you want. It's basically you're buying that DVD over and over again like a subscription service. So if you kind of factor in those two things, they kind of, I think, cancel each other out. I know that's kind of an accounting way of looking at it, but I think it's interesting when people talk about how much they pay for streaming. It's like, think about maybe some of the costs that you don't have because you have a streaming platform. I don't know if anybody else thinks that way, but just thought I might interject that.
But look. So especially, I've said this before many times, especially with the way that WWE is going back and editing their products. For instance, I always go to WrestleMania 6 where they cut out Roddy Piper and Bad News Brown. I bought the 20-year anthology years ago, and I'm glad that I did because WrestleMania 6 is intact for me. When VCRs went out of style, I don't know what I was thinking, but I got rid of all my tapes. I used to have every single pay-per-view, original pay-per-view, pre-show and post, usually the Monday Night Raw after on every single one of them. In fact, a lot of people wouldn't probably ever want to watch it, but I had it, was the 1999 Over the Edge. And, obviously that tape is gone now. And I had the post Raw tribute to Owen and all of that stuff, and it's gone now. So I know that was a horrible thing, but having that was just, I treasured it because it was a tragic thing, and I don't want to get too much on my soapbox there. So before, real quick, because I think we're gonna go into Map It, right, Henry?
Why don't we hold for a little bit on that, Frank? I think I'm still having a problem on my side.
You sound fine.
Yeah, but the internet's been kind of
okay. We did talk over. It was a really good tag match actually between Martin Bulldog versus Mankind and Vader, but it was a DQ if I'm not mistaken, right? Was that a
double
DQ?
Count out?
Double count out. Okay. And it looks like we're gonna get the match that we're all here to watch right now is Bret and Stone Cold.
This leads me to my main question. This comes up too with WrestleMania 18. Everybody remembers that pay-per-view for Rock Hogan. The pay-per-view before that, Vince McMahon talks about how he's going to inject the WWF with a lethal dose of poison, which turns out to be the New World Order. And Rock wrestles Hogan. That is arguably the biggest moment of WrestleMania 18. That should have been the main event. Instead, we get a popcorn match, there's a hardcore title change, and then we have the match for the undisputed title.
I love that entrance.
Yeah, it's iconic. I was going to say, can I tell why I picked this specific show and this mainly for this match now? Or
please, go ahead.
Okay, one reason I kind of touched on it earlier on, shortly came back to wrestling. I guess it would be spring of '96, basically. And one of the things that had caught my eye, again, talking about coming in and out of watching wrestling and stuff. I remember I'd see this guy, the ring master. I'm like, what is this? Why is Stunning Steve Austin giving the ring mask? What's this crap? Because I love Stunning Steve Austin. For the brief time when I checked in on WCW when he was with the Hollywood Blondes, I'm like, this tag team is awesome. So, but I'm seeing him kind of languishing with this stupid gimmick, and as everyone will know, he'll shed that, become Stone Cold. So you start to see Austin, his real, that attitude that he kind of displayed when he was stunning Steve Austin with the blonde. So yeah, I put Austin on this one side of, hey, I remember him briefly, WCW 92. Now the other guy, Bret Hart, I had mentioned the Midnight Express is my all-time favorite tag team. Well, another one of my favorite tag teams was the Hart Foundation. I loved the Hart Foundation, and as everyone knows, the true talent in the Hart Foundation was Bret the Hitman Hart. Arguably, again, everybody talks about your Mount Rushmores. If there's a worker, pure worker Mount Rushmore, Bret Hart is on that Mount Rushmore. I'm one of these guys that loves Bret the Hitman Hart equally as much as Shawn Michaels, because I can separate, hey, they're both flawed individuals. They both have their problems and their strengths, but they are too damn, if you could mesh them together, you would have the perfect pro wrestler. Shawn Michaels and Bret the Hitman Hart. So, love Bret the Hitman Hart as a kid. So here you see this build of Bret the Hitman Hart. He really was getting screwed up to this point. I mean, it was obvious. From the cage door being slammed in his head to Austin throwing him out at the Royal Rumble. He had a legitimate gripe. But as we're older, again, I'm 21 years old when this happened, you see what they're doing. You see that they're like, we're trying to make this guy a heel, as we know, but it didn't happen yet. Well, it's going to happen full-blown right here now. And again, WWE, they get criticized because they never blade. They never show blood. Well, these two gentlemen are smart enough to know, hey, this is going to put us over the top, and this is one of these classic matches that, hey, the blood was definitely warranted. Sorry, spoiler alert. You're going to see blood.
Oh, it's iconic.
A match I've never seen before, you jerk.
It's as everybody's top fives will change. This is always at least a top 3 favorite WWE match for me, no matter what.
And you know what?
For those reasons,
I'm a fan of like matches starting out that way, just like going right to the punching back and forth.
Oh yeah, I mean they displayed, hey, we don't like each other, even though we know they like each other. But
yeah, like this was
you wouldn't believed it.
Yeah, this was a year before I actually started watching wrestling. My first is that Captain Lou Albano?
Yeah, Lou
Yeah.
and
Just to pause, who of us was actually watching this event when it happened back in '97?
I wasn't.
Half of
Michael
us.
wasn't because he was 2. Okay.
I wasn't
Right.
even.
That
I
is
wasn't
no
even 2
excuse,
yet,
okay?
Frank. My equivalents for
Rabbit
WrestleMania.
Trail. As Michael mentioned earlier, we have a Zoom coming up with Ric Flair to celebrate the anniversary of WrestleMania 8. Well,
Another
that will
amazing
also be
match.
my wrestling anniversary date. I started watching with WrestleMania 8. And I was 2 years old. So I've been watching wrestling for 30 years.
That's
You
awesome.
And I'll be
you
32. So yes, I will be
can remember
I've been there
that?
for 30 years.
When I was 2 years old, my WrestleMania equivalent was Blue's Clues and Blue's Big Birthday Party.
Oh God.
So that's when I was watching at 2 years old.
Well, I come from a different background, and what I would always watch with my dad, especially, was wrestling. And Antonio, yes, I remember. The moment I remember specifically is at the end of the match or near the end of the match when Miss Elizabeth gets in the ring and she slaps Ric Flair in the face.
Yeah, my first memory was the Raw Go Home show before King of the Ring '98. When Austin got the bloodbath from Kane.
Yep.
Not to interrupt, but another big thing about this match is right now they're working into the crowd, and that hardly never happened at that point in time.
Yeah.
But they're all the way out in the crowd, and I just thought that was a nice aside.
This match was definitely outside of the normal scope of work for WWE for sure.
And and that's what made it unique. And I'll ask this question to Adam because he was the one who brought up the AEW kind of not criticism, but the critiques of AEW, which were very well warranted. But one of the reasons I think this match was so well received at the time is, like we keep saying, it's outside of the box. It's something different. Do you think nowadays people try to, and this is not just an AEW criticism, it could apply to WWE or any other wrestling promotion. Do you think nowadays people try to almost do too much in a match? Like they try to do too much in terms of getting their spots getting their spots in, or like, you see a table break multiple times during a show where it kind of doesn't mean as much for the viewer. And Adam, because you're our guest and you were kind of talking about innovative stuff from this match, we'll start with you and then work our way around the room.
Yeah, that's actually, again, Michael, an excellent question. And this match, I hyped on one of the key factors that made this stick out was their use of blood. One of my other current criticisms, and again, I love Dynamite. Dynamite is the best weekly show there is going. I like AEW. However, another critique, I think that they utilize blading too often. It kind of cheapens the effect. I mean, you see blood every week, you just come to take it for granted. Now, if it's a big moment after months and months of not using, you're like, holy cow, it just makes the impact of the moment more significant if it's used less. As far as spots, again, a lot of people are fans, and this is going to be a criticism, are fans of the Young Bucks and their style of wrestling. I, however, am not. Are they great at that? Their style? They are the top of the class at their style. However, it's nothing but spot fest to me. They have no psychology to most of their matches. And that's just not my style.
Yeah, getting their shit in, right? I mean,
they have to get their shit in.
They're fun to watch live. I'll say that.
They are that Lucha Brothers Young Bucks match. What pair? It was phenomenal. That cage match was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Did you go?
But there's no story coming up to it or after it, and I think storylines drive episodic weekly TV watching.
Adam, did you go to Top Guy Weekend?
No, I wasn't a top guy at that time. I am now. We were talking about this before we got started. If there's going to be a star cast or a top guy, I'm going to have to make a decision if they're separate. I am going to go to Top Guy Weekend if I have my choice. I will be at one or the other.
Yeah,
but it's more than likely be Top Guy theater.
I'm going. No matter what happens, I'm going to Nashville.
That's where I want it.
I'm going to SummerSlam. They're doing an FFN event there, and
I'd say if you weren't at Nissan Stadium for SummerSlam, I would be shocked.
Yeah, Plus, it's training camp, so yeah. I'm gonna go see the Titans in training camp. So
also just
hey Frank, as an aside, 99, 2000. Wait a minute. Yes, 99, 2000. I was a big Tennessee Titan guy fan because when they played the Rams in the Super Bowl, I was one of the lone guys in this area that wanted the Titans to win because, again, I never felt like the Rams were St. Louis's team. Anyway, I was a big Steve McNair, Eddie George guy.
Yes.
Just to clarify, while we're talking about Top Guy Weekend and a potential star cast, nothing has been confirmed for either event. Right. We don't know if either are taking place yet. This is all just speculation. Just always like to throw that disclaimer in.
We know Top Guy Weekend's taking place. We just don't know if it's going to be Nashville, if it's going to be wherever. It's not.
I hope it's Chicago. Obviously, it'd be easy.
Well, I mean, honestly, if they wanted to spice it up, they'd go Nashville because they did Chicago last year.
I'm happy with it being
in Nashville.
I'm happy with it being anywhere, but don't everybody forget the most important thing about SummerSlam this year
is you'll be. So when we see a wave of white go into the ring, is that going to be
you? No, it's my birthday.
Oh, I know you said it. It's my birthday.
The only reason, Frank, I think that Chicago would maybe work out more than Nashville is if Conrad wants to have a lot of talent interact. We all know that AEW is a lot easier to work with than WWE, so that could play a factor.
I mean, I hope it's Nashville because I don't want to have to.
I do too.
I don't want to spend more money on another trip in September. I've already dropped. Oh, I'm not going to get into the figures, but I've already paid for my flight.
All right, Bruce Pritchard. No numbers.
my fat ass is flying first class there and back. And I've already got my hotel.
Oh my God, this
Bret, as another part with this match, Bret Hart is working the ring post. No one else I had ever seen work the ring post like Bret Hart.
He's the only one that ever did that. That was the first time. He was the one that did that first, right?
Does he use? Is that the modified figure?
To me, he's the first one.
Is that the modified figure 4 spot, guys?
Yes.
Yeah, you should be watching Money Mike instead of being at the casino.
Wow.
We went over this earlier. He's
What? Speaking of Bret Hart, what about FTR and Bret Hart rumors? I mean, it's pretty obvious.
That could be interesting.
That could be very interesting.
That intrigues me. Antonio, did you have a question from earlier too? I saw you had your hands up.
No.
Let me ask Antonio a question since my computer's not focused on my unmade bed. Do you ever make your bed?
Rarely.
Okay.
You're gonna sleep in it again anyway, right? What's the point?
I'm not in. I usually film in my bedroom. My bed is never made.
Yeah, but we can't see the whole thing. I can, like, Antonio's got that thing positioned like this is the love mattress right here.
I could put one of those what are those lights called that you shine over the bed?
Oh no!
Spotlight?
A black light? No, we don't.
Oh.
No, we don't want that.
Never mind.
No.
I'm gonna have nightmares tonight. I can already tell.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna go have to watch Charlotte Flair match.
Oh Jesus!
Give myself pleasant dreams.
See, now it went into hiding.
Anyway, so I did want to. We were talking earlier too. So you are a St. Louis Blues fan, though. And,
Yes, sir.
I had the privilege of going to. I lived in Boston at the time. I actually lived about a block or two away from the TD Garden, so I was at Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and I was at Game 2. And I was funny. I was one of the only Bruins fans that stayed because how many times in my lifetime am I going to ever get to watch the presentation of a Stanley Cup? So I stayed there for that. I actually have video of it. It was just a phenomenal experience.
Well, to answer your question, I was 44, so 44 years before we got a cup. So that's how long I had to wait. I didn't get to see the Stanley Cup Finals. I went to an early round playoff game, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I'd like to. You go back to you being a fan of McNair. You know, a lot of people cried when Scott died, right? I have tried to always separate the fact that, you know, I don't know these people, that kind of stuff. But when Steve McNair passed, I was absolutely devastated because he was like my football hero. I mean, yeah, he made some mistakes off the field and such, but I don't think there was anybody. There's a lot of tough football players, but that man was always hurt, didn't practice, would come game time, could barely move, and boom, guides the Titans to a great win. And just him losing him, you know. So I'm very hungry. As my favorite sport is football. So like, you know, all my other teams, you know, I'm a Red Sox fan. So I mean, we get one every 5 years at this point. I'm a Rockets fan. They're horrible. It is Sports Guy Theater. You know, they're horrible right now, but they've got a couple titles. The Bruins, they've got plenty of banners in that TD Garden. I just want to see one from for the Titans. They you know, I don't know if Adam, have you been to Nashville?
Oh yes, I actually have been in that stadium. Yeah, I got to go on a brief tour of that stadium. So
it is nice, and they're actually
it is a nice stadium. It is a nice stadium.
They're already talking about rebuilding it. So I just and I hope that they do, but they keep it in that general area, because if they put a dome on it, hello WrestleMania, hello Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, so, without a doubt. I
would go to that'd be if WrestleMania is in Nashville, I'd be there for that.
I'm excited because
I've been to several WrestleManias, and if they put a WrestleMania in Nashville, I would go and see another one.
There's rumors Mania 40 might be in Vegas, and to be honest with you, depending on what I'm doing in my life at that point, depending strictly on work schedules, because if I'm still doing public accounting, which I plan on, I probably won't be able to go. But if I've transitioned to a different career path, I might, just because it's Vegas and I have family out there, and I love.
What year
Vegas.
would be WrestleMania 40?
You're finally becoming a male stripper?
It would be 2 years from now.
2024.
Right? Yeah, 2 years, 25.
2024.
I'm sorry, 24 years.
I would go and make that like my big blowout celebration for getting my bachelor's degree, but I'm not graduating till 2025.
Randy, I keep telling you, after that, get your master's at my alma mater, and maybe, hopefully, if I get my dream job there someday, I could be a professor.
Hey, Frank, but before we close out the Sports Guy Theater talk, though, you brought up you're a Red Sox fan, and the one sport that we can puff up our feathers is baseball around here. Is the Cardinals.
Yeah.
However, till they play the damn Red Sox.
Hey, come on.
Which I don't hate the Red Sox. I'm not saying that, but they always seem to be our bugaboo.
Well, the Cardinals did that to them in the 70s, right?
Right. They're just getting their payback.
Yeah. So, did they beat the Cardinals twice in the World Series?
2000. What was it? 4.
Then in 07 they played the Rockies.
Oh God, you put me on sport. I just remember 2004. I know they did.
Yeah, and in 13 I can't remember who they played in 13.
Because our last ones were 11 and 6.
Oh my God, Howard Finkel.
So
is this where he got color? Is that the spot where he got bladed?
Oh yep.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Didn't Bret? The story is Bret did it for him, right?
Yes.
See, the thing
that was Bret's idea too.
Is not running wild anymore.
And Steve was worried about getting in trouble because there was a strict no bleeding, no blood, intentional. But Bret is like, I got you. I will take the fall.
So I would like to. Brandy's got her Red Sox hat on. I would like to give a good old fashioned middle finger to MLB for
I know we were supposed to go to a game.
Right. Now Brandy's been to Fenway for a concert, but she's not seen the Red Sox play, and that got squashed because of their little dispute. So
exactly. Fuck you to the MLB commissioner.
Yeah.
It's all your fault, boo.
And I think we all agree on that. Yes.
Yeah. Queef King. Oh, he changed his name. What's up?
Yeah, the thing I noticed, like, what I think is more of AEW needs to learn is, like, they did a good job hiding, like, them blading themselves. Like, if you saw at Revolution, like, CM Punk and MJF, you could clearly see CM Punk do one of these, blade himself.
Oh, I noticed it with Moxley. What was it? Was it at Revolution? I think it was Revolution where
I think they did the same thing too.
You see his hand like this, like he's like, and you know what he's doing.
On the topic of blading, I actually highly recommend everybody go check out the My World podcast. That was the Moondogs. I think it was the Moondogs episode with the concession stand brawl, and they have a really, really interesting and really good sidebar conversation on blading and maybe why people talk about it, why other people are more opposed to talking about it. Just a really unique perspective, and I think Jeff always brings those insights. Adam, did you want to say something? I saw you.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that specific episode about the Moondogs. You made the comment that My World's become your favorite podcast. Had you ever been familiar with the Moondogs until then, being as young as you were?
I had heard of them through other podcasts. Like I think Cornette has mentioned them. I heard of the concept of a concession stand brawl, but that episode for me, and actually a lot of the ones that My World does, like say on USWA, the Daddy Buys Dallas episode, that stuff to me is interesting because all that is stuff that I'm seeing for the first time in Antonio. I love that Christmas variant action figure. If you want to show that for the camera,
yeah, that is sweet.
Yeah,
you got to get the bloody one now.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting. April 2nd, it comes out at noon. I'm buying it.
Yep, April 2nd, WrestleMania Saturday.
Yeah.
But yeah, Michael, again, they were I was like probably 7 years old when I first saw the Moondogs, and they scared me. They legitimately scared me when I was a kid. They'd be gnawing on their bone, gnawing on opponents, and they literally legitimately scared me.
Yeah, I thought really unique episode. And that was one I knew I wanted to listen to, but I wasn't expecting that level of detail. And I think that's one of the things to talk about the podcast for a second that I really like is the level of detail and the granular, to use a Jeff Jarrett word, the granular detail in all the podcasts. And I'll be honest, people know this. I've worked from home since the pandemic, so I jokingly call them the voice of my home office. And on the topic of work, Adam, we always like to kind of get to know the people we bring on the show. Are you willing to tell us a little bit about what it is you do for work? If you don't want to, you don't have to, but sometimes we like to get people to share if they're willing.
Not a problem. No, what I currently do now is I work overnights, and it's probably a place every one of you utilize. I'm probably one of your best friends. I work at your local Amazon fulfillment center. So I help package your orders and put them on the truck to send to your homes.
Now listen, all of that, just remember, Adam, when you saw my name come through and all of that lube and stuff, that's not what you do.
In all seriousness, I have packaged everything. I mean, there is nothing that is manufactured in that specific area that I have not seen. So
Get a package addressed to Henry.
Well, it's funny because I live in a very remote area. I live on an island. I have 2 stores. I have a Walmart and I have a Safeway, which is owned by Albertsons. So that kind of gives people more of an idea about us. So anything that I cannot get at Walmart or Safeway, I need to order from online. So Amazon is a lifeline to where I
Sure.
live.
Sure.
So thank you.
But before I went to Amazon, kind of the reason I went there was I was in sales for like 7 years. First, I worked sales for advertising with a newspaper and online media company, and then I sold insurance. And I just got tired mainly dealing with the public, to where I was like, I need a job with great benefits that I don't have to deal with the public any longer. So
That's very understandable, and I think that's the unique thing too, is how much people change what it is they do based on their life experience. Like I say with me, I love what I do now in public accounting. I could stay here forever, but I do have other ambitions that eventually I'd love to become a professor or a teacher of accounting. It's something that interests me. But I think the cool thing is no matter what walk of life you come from in terms of career path, no matter what you do, we're all wrestling fans, and that's why I love like ad-free shows, Top Guy Theater, Filter-Free Network. It brings so many diverse people together. Like I say all the time, but you guys know more of the real me than most people in my town or in my office, because I can just be myself around you.
Here we go. Here's an iconic shot.
Oh
he's gonna raise up, show you that bloody face, and
I think I used to have a poster of that a long time ago.
I got a T-shirt of it. Yeah. King of Attitude. It's got that bloody face.
I was gonna say, like, they probably would have gotten in trouble these days if you see a wrestler wrapping a extension cord around the neck.
Yeah.
You know what,
though? Remember when Daniel Bryan used a tie to choke Justin Roberts? He got fucking fired for it.
Well, hey, Antonio, here, not to play spoiler alert, but upcoming in the street fight, at one point, I forget which member it is, but they wrap a noose around Ahmed Johnson's neck.
Ooh.
So, talk about not aging well nowadays. There's the iconic shot of Austin.
Yeah, that's terrible.
To sidebar away from that and to go to, spots, and this kind of ties in a point from earlier tonight that you were talking about, Adam, the overuse of blood in AEW. I think one of the best angles that they shot was the Punk MJF stuff with the promo MJF gave, and then the follow-up the next week with the hug between MJF.
Yes.
But here's the thing, remember, and you talk about choking, he choked him with the dog collar over the ring rope, and he left him a bloody mess, which surprised me. But think about how different, and do you think how much more impactful could that moment have been if that was maybe the first or the second time we saw blood in AEW? If they saved it for that, how much? I think you would
remember it even more. Like, oh my God, you remember that clear shot of when MJF busted open Punk in that all white? Yeah, I think you'd remember it even more.
Just with everything we're talking about, I thought that was a neat kind of loop around to we talked about earlier. I think talking about the iconic shots and the use of blood, I actually think the one that I did not like as much was the lights out match between, I think it was the Bunny and I can't remember who else, but that kind of turned into a bloodbath.
Penelope Ford and the Bunny versus Ty Conti and Anna Jay.
New Year's Eve Rampage. And I remember watching it. I didn't mind it, and I'll say this, any performer that's willing to do anything like that. Immensely. So it's not a slight on them, but it's just there's times where it's necessary, and then there's times where it's not. But again, it's all judgment calls, and wrestling is very subjective, which is something I like about it. It's up to interpretation.
Right. Hart's going to start healing here on Austin. He kind of gave glimpses of it during the match when he kept on overworking the leg. He was showing the little glimpses, but here he's going to start, giving Stone Cold the stomps and challenge Shamrock before he chicken shit baby walks out. And so,
man, I forgot how good this match was.
Oh, it's amazing.
Just had a thought. So WWE, their strength is they present a good television product. Now, in the past, they've always done good storytelling, like with this. What does AEW do well? They are great with athleticism, whereas they need to become stronger in this telling stories and being more of a psychology based or a dramatic presentation setting. So
I
that's an
agree.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100,
Brandy, that's a
100, 100.
5-star thought there. Really, I never thought to phrase it that way, but that's fantastic. I want to ask, and Brandy, I'll start with you because you brought it up. But how big of a role do you think somebody like a William Regal could have in helping them with the in-ring psychology? I mean, I think he is the biggest get for AEW out of everybody they've gotten. I think when you look at overall body of work and what his mind can do and his ability to work with younger talent, and he's somebody the younger talent has tremendous respect for, I think we're going to see his influence in a lot of ways. I'd love to get Brandy's thoughts and then go to Adam and work our way around the room.
That's absolutely true, because a lot of people, especially from that era of NXT, is like, oh, that's the Triple H era. Triple H found him, Triple H hired him, Triple H advocated for him, but that's the William Regal era. You know that he had a hand in working with these people, because when you think about it in the sense of there's the athleticism and then there's the acting. And usually, I don't know who in our audience has been in a fight, but your bodily instinct for when you are getting kicked or when you're getting beaten is to curl inward and to pull into yourself to protect your core, to protect your central organs. Whereas if you're telling a story about how much something is hurting you, you want to open up and push that outward and display outward motion to open up so that the fans can see you. And that's like a high art, a theater mindset. If you didn't know, I was a theater nerd in high school. So they definitely need some acting classes
Same.
to help
I love
that presentation aspect. Because if you think about it from just a wrestling perspective, like, yeah, you can go this to this, spot to spot to spot, and string together something really cool. But you do have to put that different lens on to make it a fully rounded out and a fully told story. It doesn't matter if it's just a match on Rampage and you don't really have a storyline with that person. Tell me a story. Give me something. Find something that you can work off of to make this a more fully rounded, a more well-rounded and full experience. Because that's when you're going to get noticed, and that's when a Tony Khan's going to go, you know what? I think they got something. That's when you're truly leveling up your game, not just how many flips can you do, how fast can you throw super kicks, or how athletic you are, because that's a big part of it. But the major part of it that people are just not having a lot of is that dramatic presentation, being selective about your use of blood that we've talked about, and making sure you're opening yourself up and taking the time to let people absorb it, because people just go too fast. So we had Adam from Bama. This is something that he talks about from the perspective of a former wrestler. Every time you think you're going slow down some more, because you're not giving those people the time to process it. Now, does every match need to be that way? No, because the best wrestling show is a smorgasbord or a buffet, because then there's a little something for everyone. But as to be a truly well-rounded performer, you should know how to read your audience, to read the spot that you're in a card or in a show, and figure out what's going to work best for that spot, that time period, the crowd that you're in front of, and be able to be that utility blade and be able to do but also know when, okay, let's just slow down. Let's work this body part. Let's slow it down and take it way back, because that's what's going to help you get to that next level. Because for me to be a world champion wrestler, you need to have it all. You need to have presence. You need to have athleticism. You need to know your psychology. You need to know how to lead. You need to know when to change things up and to go fast, or when to slow it down and really work on the simple things that tell a very effective story. That, to me, that's always been my measuring stick of who should be a world champion. And I kind of just took over. Sorry.
Right.
That was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Do we want to do
perspective?
Do we want to do map it, Henry?
I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
No, the internet's going in and out again.
Yeah, it's going in and out again, Henry. I don't know what you want to do.
I love Map It too. Dang.
Hijack the show.
Well, you know what that means. We're just going to have you back again, Adam.
Oh, we love
Anytime.
bringing people. Yeah, we love bringing people back.
We love our orgies.
Michael, do you want to do Cash Course?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right, hold on. We got an opening for Cash Course, so let's get that rolling.
Money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. Oh, money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. Money, 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 money.
You there, buddy? You good?
Yeah,
good?
Let's go. I was just checking my notes. You're good.
Go ahead.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So after those couple seconds of technical difficulties, it is time to get technical and, in fact, granular with your Cash Course this evening. We're going to be looking at WrestleMania 13, which, as Henry will outline later, took place at the Allstate Arena, then known as the Rosemont Horizon in Rosemont, Illinois. For Cash Course, what we're going to be looking at is I looked at WrestleMania. There's a few different avenues I want to look at with this. I wanted to look at WrestleMania year over year, looking from WrestleMania 13 to WrestleMania 12. And then I also wanted to look at the WrestleMania 13 compared to Starrcade 1997, because regardless of what Eric Bischoff says, Starrcade 1997 was the tentpole WrestleMania equivalent event for WCW, especially during this year. And then I also looked at the WrestleMania 13 buy rate versus the Judgment Day in Your House buy rate from 1998, which took place during the same at the same arena just a little over a year later. So let's begin by looking WrestleMania to WrestleMania. WrestleMania 12 had approximately 290,000 buys, whereas WrestleMania 13 had only 237,000 buys. That's a decrease of about 50,000 buys, or 19%. In terms of a revenue perspective, both WrestleManias were evenly priced at $30 a pay-per-view, and what we saw was a decrease, slight in revenues, but again, the main decrease was at $90,000 buys. I like to focus on buy rate when I do these because I think it paints a clearer picture for what the main viewer was seeing. So then we go to WrestleMania 13 versus Starrcade 1997, and there is approximately a $600,000 buy difference between WrestleMania 13 and Starrcade 1997. It really paints the picture of where WCW was at in 1997 compared with a year later, because the interesting thing when we look a year later, we're looking WrestleMania, we have to remember, was the marquee or the key event for WWE. The next time they would run the Rosemont Horizon with a pay-per-view would be In Your House Judgment Day in October of 1998. And what we saw with that was the buys actually increased from 237 to 327,000 buys. That really shows how in just a little over a year that pendulum would swing drastically. But the one thing I do want to point out, and I'm not going to get into specifics, was the overall revenue generated from WrestleMania 13 still exceeded the In Your House, because even though there was a buy increase in 1998, the price point was essentially a $10 difference, $20 for the In Your House pay-per-view compared to the $30 of WrestleMania 13. So overall, what should our key takeaways be here? In the year 1997, WrestleMania saw a buy rate decrease from 1997 to 1990 compared with 1996. In 1997, the WWF was not as quote-unquote popular as WCW, as seen by a significant decrease in buys from WCW compared to WWF. But then by 1998, that pendulum would again shift, and we would see In Your House pay-per-views, which were considered the second-tier pay-per-view, generating more buys than the previous year's WrestleMania. And this has been your Casino Cash Course.
Casino Cash Course. I like that.
It seemed fitting given the venue choice.
That's good shit, pal.
Good shit, pal. So I wanted to talk about real quick about the venue here, Rosemont Horizon.
I'll give it 2 stars at the Tokyo Dome.
Oh boy. Rosemont Horizon is one of those.
Tokyo Dome, it would be 4 stars.
Yeah. Fuck Meltzer.
Rosemont Horizon for me is a venue that like resonates so much because again, the very first ever pay-per-view that I was able to order live was in this very house directly above me, and it was Survivor Series 1989 from the Rosemont Horizon. Also, I highly,
Hold on.
I wouldn't say highly, but what'd you say? What?
You got another house on top of you?
Is that what I said?
It's
I'm
not
sorry.
the Wicked Witch.
In this house, it was so the room I'm in now, and Brandy's been here. Above me is a living room, and I remember that Thanksgiving I fell asleep for the last match, and I was so pissed when I woke up. I'm like, did the Ultimate Warrior win? So the Rosemont Horizon is just iconic to me. I mean, I highly remember this show. Money in the Bank 2011 with Punk, WrestleMania 22, and I know it sounds silly, but when we were in Schaumburg for All Out, we passed that venue so many times, and I'm like, holy shit, the history there.
And every time we'd be like, look, there it is.
I know, the Allstate Arena. So it's like I'm very I don't know, I'm a nerd like that. Now, Adam, did you go to Royal Rumble?
The one here in St. Louis?
Yeah.
I actually did not. I had a chance to, long story short, the filter-free guys were going to get me into their suite, but I had made plans with my wife and another couple to watch it here. So after the Jeff Jarrett, Eric 83 Week show, I hightailed it back to make our Royal Rumble party.
I got
For a
it.
double date. I like single wrestling fans that are out there. I am here for a double date wrestling party.
Hello? No.
All right, welcome to Porn Guy Theater. So,
So like I
making a
said
banner
earlier,
for that.
happy wife, happy life. I didn't want to say, yeah, I'm with you guys in the suite. And then she'd be like, well, what about our double date, Royal Rumble party? Sorry, no.
well, I think we have another suite in Nashville for SummerSlam. I'm excited. Oh my God, is this the noose? This is the noose.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes, told you.
Who do we lose?
Money Mike, he said
Michael,
he'd be right back.
Oh, okay.
Frank,
Yeah, when we're recording, I have a hard time pay attention to the private chat.
Oh,
Oh my God.
They make it okay because it's a black guy doing that to another.
What's up, Henry?
why don't we take this moment and segue? I want to give. You'll just have to take over.
What? You okay, Henry?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're
You were talking and cutting it out again. It's just I don't
fucking figures.
it's just not your night, pal.
Do you want me to do it, Henry?
Yeah, go ahead.
Henry's all right. Brandy's gonna do map it.
I'll do map it. Run
Okay.
the
All right. Here we go.
Yo ho ho!
Hey!
Blow me down!
Na 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 na.
332, Kitty Hawk, USS Kitty Hawk. This is Namcom State Dr. Roger, over.
And here we are. Sorry, Henry. I think you got a little less hairy, but we're gonna go ahead and go on to Map It, which of course, as we just talked about, this is a WrestleMania 13.
A much better looking version of Henry.
If it'll no.
Sorry, Henry, but yeah.
At least this one has jugs.
That's 2 pluses in a Brandy's favor.
And I can cook.
Exactly.
3 pluses in.
You were saying, Brandy?
Them cheeks,
Yes,
my boy.
this is of course this is at the Rosemont Horizon in Chicago, Illinois, or one of its many suburbs, as we found out when we were in Schaumburg last year. This is the second WrestleMania to be held at the Rosemont Horizon. The first was the second leg of WrestleMania 2. WrestleMania 2 is available in the archives. And the other venues for that were the Nassau Coliseum and the Los Angeles Memorial Sports Arena. This venue is also the home of Spring Stampede 1994, the event which is considered by many to be the first true WWF pay-per-view, the Wrestling Classic, Survivor Series 1989, Backlash 2001, and WrestleMania 22. Its most recent event that it was home to was Survivor Series 2019. And the most recent event was an episode of Monday Night Raw, which aired earlier this week on March 21st. In the same month, WCW and ECW would both hold big events. ECW on March 15th would hold Hostile City Showdown from the ECW Arena in Philadelphia at the corner of Swanson and Rittner. The main event of that show featured Raven defeating Stevie Richards and Tommy Dreamer in a 3-way match for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. The juggernaut that was WCW would hold uncensored the next day on March 16th in North Charleston, South Carolina at the North Charleston Coliseum. The main event of that pay-per-view would be a triangle elimination match featuring Team NWO, represented by Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Kevin Nash, and the recently departed Scott Hall, rest in power, defeating Team Piper, headed up by Rowdy Roddy Piper with Chris Benoit, Steve Mongo McMichael, and the semi-quasi 4 horsemen Jeff Jarrett, and Team WCW, which was represented by the Giant, Lex Luger, and Scott Steiner. By winning this match, the NWO won the right to challenge for any WCW championship they wanted at any time that they wanted. March 23rd is a significant date in wrestling history for other reasons as well. On this day in 2001, the WWF purchased World Championship Wrestling from Turner Broadcasting and AOL Time Warner for what at the time was an undisclosed amount. AOL Time Warner sold the WWE the trademarks of WCW and the entire videotape library for a combined total of $4.2 million. $2.5 million was just for the trademarks, name, and logo, and $1.7 million for the tape library. Earlier this year, on January 11th, it was announced by AOL Time Warner that an organization called Fusion Media Ventures would see WCW remain on Turner Network with Eric Bischoff as the head, in a deal reportedly worth over $150 million. Ultimately, the final nail in the coffin came from AOL Time Warner executive Jamie Kellner, who made the decision to pull all WCW programming from the Turner Networks because he felt it didn't fit the image of the new AOL Time Warner. Guy Evans' Nitro book covers so much more of this in much greater detail, and we would suggest that you pick up a copy. He was also part of the Ad Free Show's book club. Tremendous book. It's available however you want it, audiobook, ebook, physical copy. It's great.
I did
As we're
auto.
recording tonight, we are at the 21st anniversary of the very final WCW Monday Nitro, as TNT would air the final episode, Spring Break 2001, from Club La Vila in Panama Beach, Florida, which we found out today is actually still standing and will be set to open to visitors this tourist season. The show would begin with a simulcast from the Gund Arena in Cleveland, where Vince McMahon would make the television announcement of the reality that at this point has existed for 3 days, that he had bought his competition, and that the very fate of WCW was in his hands. Now, at some point in the future, Top Guy Theater will hopefully cover more shows inside from the period of March 2001 till Survivor Series 2001 in greater detail, where we can take a further examination into all of the mistakes that were deliberately, maybe allegedly, made by WWE in its invasion storyline that we really try hard to forget. Well, that's
I was about to say Ahmed Johnson better pick out that wedgie because I'm tired of seeing.
You know what? I just called you Henry again.
Oh my God.
Antonio, honestly, like that is, I noticed that because that was his. That man always had a damn tights up his ass.
He only
He
had one
did.
cheek out.
Yeah.
You know
Wedgie
what?
King.
Yes, Adam.
Wedgie King.
definitely-
Hey, Brandy
definitely
Dern Map it. Yeah, Nitro, one of the top 4 wrestling related books I've ever read in my life. Cannot
Yeah.
put Nitro over enough.
I listened-
Amazing read.
I listened-
Amazing read.
I listened
Amazing
to it.
read.
Now, I'm definitely partial to Heartbreak and Triumph, the Shawn Michaels story, but
Is that actually good? Because they got it on Audible. I was thinking about listening to it.
that's how I read it actually.
Yeah, that's how I, because I can't just sit there and read the book physically.
See, I did with like Sean's book, Rick's
Ag-
book, Mick's book. I did that with both of his books, but Under the Black Hat, I have Audible.
My favorite wrestling book.
Yeah,
Under the Black Hat's my favorite wrestling book. Another great one is Hitman. So equal love to Bret Hart. Yep, here comes Sean to do commentary. Brandy, you also touched on the WCW pay-per-view this month, Uncensored, was fantastic because another on that side of the spectrum, I was really involved in and loving the rise of Diamond Dallas Page. I mean, he is the people's champ. He really was from that point on through the next 2.5 years. That storyline was amazing, and his feud with Savage, rightfully so, got feud of the year. Go ahead, Frank. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I want to agree with you. Like that was like looking back on WCW when it was really good.
Oh yeah.
The evolution of DDP is incredible.
Yeah, I got introduced. I got introduced to DDP for. Remember those VHS tapes, WCW NWO Superstar series?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I had a Kevin Nash,
Yep.
I had Goldberg, I had Sting, and I had a DDP one. It showcased DDP. Man, I loved every highlight he did.
Exactly. He was just.
I'm
Go ahead, Adam. Go ahead. This show.
I'm not sure if this week's. I'm not sure if to plug another podcast that we get on ad-free shows. I'm not sure I'll be able to make it through the DDP Snake Pit this coming week with my allergies not acting up. So just be prepared. I hear
that's going to be. I'm very curious to hear that because they had especially DDP had such a unique relationship with Scott Hall that
without a doubt.
And I think the best comparison that Conrad already made with that, it's like the Owen episode with Jeff, which that one was to get through. But and I take a bit of a different perspective probably on some of that. I think one of the traits that makes Conrad a great podcaster, and this is a sidebar, he knows how to tap into the emotions of his co-hosts and to let them express themselves. Because I'll be honest, he's left a lot of stuff in there at certain instances that some people probably would have cut out. Like I remember, I think it was at the start of the Nails episode of Something to Wrestle With. And Bruce is crying, and I remember it caught me off guard. But you know what I think it does is at the end of the day, it reminds us that we're all human.
Right.
That we sometimes whether we knowingly or unknowingly do it, we put certain people on pedestals. And
Yes.
I mean this in the nicest way, but sometimes to remember that we're all human and we're all going through stuff, and it makes them more relatable. And I don't know how much of that is what that means to everybody, but I think that's the thing to me that I've always liked about wrestling and about the podcast is it's wrestling's relatable, because as far-fetched as the storyline might be or something, when you feel like you can relate to somebody, that's when you invest in them. And that's what we saw a lot during this pay-per-view was, I mean, go back to Stone Cold Steve Austin, Bret Hart, there's a lot of investment there. But I want to, as we approach the main event eventually, I want to focus on a point Henry brought up initially that we didn't really get to focus on, was should this match have main evented the pay-per-view, or could this match have main evented the pay-per-view, kind of like how people argue could Hogan Rock have main evented the WrestleMania 18. And I'm going to have kind of a controversial take here. I think it could have, and I honestly believe it could have been a title match with Bret retaining the championship, because to me, Bret Hart's storylines in 1997 were so impactful and so critical to the success of the company that honestly, I think The Undertaker's WWF title reign was unnecessary, and it was secondary the entire time. I'm not trying to say that to be controversial. I just believe you could have accomplished the same goal without having that title reign. That's not to say The Undertaker didn't deserve the title reign. He did, but to me, it was overshadowed. I'd love to get Adam's thoughts on that, and then maybe we'll go to Henry next, because he was the one who brought up the point initially, but I'd love to get Adam's thoughts on that.
No, Henry.
Okay. Generally, first I'll say generally, and then I'll go specifically.
Okay.
Generally, I'm kind of old school where I always think your title should be the last match, unless there is a huge moment and ongoing, continuing storyline following, and it has to be really, really huge. Now, and then specifically with this one, since Bret didn't have the title going on, I don't think it should have ended the show. Yes, it was the biggest match, but there's been lots of WrestleMania, SummerSlams, Royal Rumbles, where there have been specific matches that are memorable, that they didn't close the show. That, again, I go more towards, I guess you would call it old school, that since this was the WWE title match, it should have closed the show. So that's my take.
Yeah, listen, we didn't know when this card came out, right? My thing with that, using this card as an example, we didn't know Bret and Steve were going to be a show stealer like it was, and we certainly didn't know it'd be something that has been talked about for the last 25 years. I truly, especially at WrestleMania, heavyweight title should be the last one. And Undertaker, most certainly, this. I'm not saying you said this, but he was the David Ortiz of the World Wrestling Federation.
I completely agree
I
with you.
think we can definitely give him the moniker of Big Papi.
Yep. And I mean, the guy, like, the fact that he went back to his old school gray here, and I look back fondly at this. I love this match, not because it was a great match, it's because it's the finally the crowning friggin' moment for the Undertaker.
Bingo, good point. Agree. The old school gray was a good touch. I'm glad you pointed that out, Frank.
Yeah, loved it. I loved it.
So,
I mean, obviously Sid is not the best worker.
Yeah.
And I love too, because I think
he got so scared he shit his pants.
Are you for real?
Is that true? Did he really? Is that true?
Yeah, he allegedly, supposedly shit his pants during this match.
Oh, Jesus.
Sid did.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, it was probably his way of saying I've got some sort of problem with my intestines.
Bruce wouldn't confirm it, but yeah, Conrad pointed that out on a Something to Wrestle that Sid shit his pants during this match.
Well, I do have a follow-up question on Undertaker, if you guys don't mind, and it's kind of fitting as he's going into the Hall of Fame. Because the question that I have, I agree with you, Undertaker deserves the title. He's had several memorable well, he's had several title reigns, but to me, he was always a character that could be a main eventer with no title, just because of the way
Oh,
the
yeah.
gimmick was positioned. But I guess the question I have for you all, and again, we can go in the same order. What was the Undertaker's most memorable title reign that you remember? Because to me, his title reigns really are secondary to the Shawn Michaels feud, the Triple H feud, and the Kane feud. Like, to me, I can think of a couple that you could argue, but I would just be curious what everybody thinks his most memorable title reign was. We'll start with Adam.
I think that's an excellent point because I'm sitting here trying to scan my brain, and as far as title reigns, none were that memorable because none were really that long.
That's
his feuds are legendary, and his, let's say, his, what would that be? WrestleManias, those mid-20 matches with Shawn and Triple H, or those clearly just outshadow any title reign.
Yep.
So that's you brought up the two excellent points that, yes, I agree.
I think his most memorable is this run he's gonna have here. He wins it at WrestleMania. He drops it in very memorable fashion to Bret at SummerSlam that year. I don't know if anyone's. I can't remember what's the name of In Your House the next month. It was In Your House
Revenge of the Taker took place in Rochester, New York.
Yeah, so he had that memorable match with what is going on?
I just want to talk.
Okay. Hold on. I just this title run. Okay, go ahead. Whose hand was up first? Like, I don't even know. Antonio. All right, give Antonio a second, and then Brandy will go to you.
Okay. To me, the memorable I can't even say it. His title reign that I can remember mostly of is his 99 reign during this ministry run.
Did he have it then?
Yeah. That was my memorable. Go ahead, Brandy.
Memorable.
Yeah, no, he won in the summer.
So y'all are forgetting the wonderfulness that was his reign as the very first WWE Undisputed Championship. He won the title from Hogan, or was it from Triple H?
No, it was Hogan at Judgment Day in Nashville, actually. I did forget about that.
Yes, and he held it and was the one to drop it to the Brock Lesnar. And that feud with Brock.
No, The Rock. He dropped it to The Rock at Vengeance, because then Rock would go on.
Drop it to the Brock. That's correct.
To the Brock?
Interesting.
You say the Brock?
Brock to the Brock.
Why do I remember the Hell in the Cell with the broken hand
Because
cast?
he feuded for the title with Lesnar after Lesnar won the belt from Rock. He just never won it back.
I have a correction. Technically, Hogan was the first WWE champion. Technically, because when they switched, I remember we played that ticket thing. I was actually at the very first event when they
and
became
didn't the crowd
WWE.
boo?
Oh, they did. It was like this cute little old lady, and they shaved it off. Like, get the F out, and everyone the whole crowd went boo. Hogan was champion at the time, so technically, wouldn't he be the first WWE champion?
But he wasn't. Because he won. He was the first person to win it when it was as the WWE after it had been rebranded. Hogan, when it was still the WWF.
Brandy's talking about when they actually won the title.
So yeah, the Undertaker would be the first then.
But I'll tell you the reign that stands out to me. There's two of them, and they're later in the career. The first one is WrestleMania 24 when he wins it from Edge, and the feud that he had with Edge and Vicky for a couple months. And then the other one was he will win it from CM Punk at Hell in a Cell 2009, and he'll hold it until the 2010 Elimination Chamber event. And during then, he actually had several various feuds that to me were very interesting, and that might just be because that was kind of the initial start of my fandom was around that time, but I'll always remember those reigns fondly.
This whole Bret Hart coming into like clearly he was trying to cement the heat, right? Is that what you'd say he was trying to do there?
Mm-hmm.
Getting power bombed. Go home, crybaby. That's what I remember. It's like,
How different does this WrestleMania look? I'll ask this question to Frank because he's a big Shawn Michaels fan. How different does this WrestleMania look if you get the rematch from WrestleMania 12 in some form of Shawn and Bret for the title?
Well, I mean, WCW is the hotter product here. I think even if Shawn was main eventing with Bret in this event, that they're still going to sell out in Illinois, but I don't think it turns the needle much on the cash like what you the metrics you gave in cash course. I really don't. I just
Agree.
think WCW was the hotter thing at the time. I mean, this is March, so it was uncensored 97, right? Wasn't that what was the marquee uncensored match? I think you went through it.
The WCW versus Team WCW versus Team NWO versus Team Four Horsemen with Roddy Piper.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, they just had the hotter thing going at the time, and it is what it is. But I mean, we all know now, 25 years later, the needle started to move up at some point, and WWF won. So,
and as we talked about, WCW went out of business. WWE bought it. Here we are. And also, there's a great book on the actual terribleness that was the AOL Time Warner merger from a business perspective. So if that's something you're interested in, let me get the name of that book because it's actually a really good book. And that was a recommendation to me from our old pal TJ, who's now playing with the folks over on the Filter Free Pop.
I actually might read that. I didn't know there was
The
a
book
book
is
on
called When Fools Rush In.
Yes, that's it.
I'm going to have to read that book. I forget about that. I wonder if I can get that on my iBook app.
I mean, I have it. It's on my Kindle. I love Kindle. Where is it?
Okay, I should be able to get it then. Because
I mean, that was essentially the first nail in the coffin for them, right? Was that merger?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, by Nina Monk, When Fools Rush In.
She's a monk?
You know, when you were talking...
Let's check that out.
When you were talking about the Guy Evans Nitro book, the one thing I wanted to mention was there's actually, I believe, an enhanced edition that's came out since the publication of the original that has some additional formats. And I actually believe a foreword by Eric Bischoff, because I know Eric Bischoff speaks very, very highly of the Guy Evans Nitro book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't beat it.
Yes, Eric loves. Yeah, that's the only one he does speak highly of. Brian Alvarez's he completely trashes.
Oh my gosh, I felt so bad for Alex Marvez, just as a sidebar. Remember on
Yeah.
82 weeks when he thought it was Brian Alvarez and just like obliterates the poor guy?
Yeah. Hey, Frankie, you know, you were talking about, sorry, Antonio. Frank, you were talking about Bret and Shawn, and I just don't think they appealed to the average wrestling watcher. Now, if you were a diehard wrestling fan and you like to see great work rate like we do, like we appreciate, you were all about Bret and Shawn. You know, their storyline didn't really get too interesting till it got shoot, you know.
Yeah.
So, but that was a good point that why WCW was hotter at this particular moment.
I would have personally, because you got to remember, if you're trying to, when wrestling got hot, you pulled in a lot of casual wrestling fans, and I'm not a casual wrestling
fan. Oh
yeah, I'm not a casual wrestling. I mean, I went to bed last night watching Royal Rumble 1993. That's just how I am, and so I would have been very much more intrigued with Shawn and Bret than the main event of Uncensored. I watched them both though,
without a doubt,
and so. Yeah, for me, I would have been in love with it, but you know the way things were that moment.
Right.
So this is what happens when you're live and you're on the road. I actually have to go home, so I will be signing off for like the next 20 minutes. And if you guys are still going, I'll hop back on. I hope that's okay. Sorry about that. I just don't want to broadcast from my car.
No, it's okay.
No.
There was one episode, and I downloaded it today. Actually, as everyone knows, I'm in the process of downloading the first 30 episodes of TGT and their bonus episodes. TJ once left the middle of a show to go get a COVID vaccine, so it's all good. Shit happens.
All right, I'm heading out. And just in case I don't hop on, Adam, thank you so much for being here. My final thoughts on WrestleMania 13, as always, great evening with all of you. And I will talk to all of y'all later. Thank you to all our viewers for watching. This has been a blast.
Peace, Money Mike.
He is a good dude. I will say that. He's Definitely.
Super positive. That's what I
Oh.
love. Super positive.
Yeah, honestly, I could be having like just a shitty, miserable day, and we get on here, and I try to hide it as best I can. But he definitely brings me up. Everybody does. I'll be very honest with you.
I definitely bring something up for you.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Hey, all right.
There's not.
Hey, Frank, you talked about going to bed to wrestling last night. I can't put over enough. Binge watched all of WWE Evil series last night on Peacock. I would highly recommend that.
All right, I'm gonna check.
Some episodes are better than others, but overall, it's extremely well. I love the Ric Flair one. I thought the Roman Reigns one was really good. Who else did I really like? Stephanie McMahon's. It was good, but it felt more like a promotional type. Hey, Stephanie's better than Shane, kind of. Since Shane's recently been let go, it's almost like, oh, Stephanie's the better child. But yeah, it's good. Check it out.
No,
episodes are right around an hour. So
Adam, I don't think I've asked you this. Like, who is like your guy now? Like, we know who your gal is. Who's your guy now? Who is you look forward to them each week? See what they're gonna do.
Oh well, again, I tell my wife every time that when he's on Friday night, she better acknowledge her tribal chief. What they've done with Roman Reigns since they finally wisened up and said, "Hey, let's let this guy, do what he wants." He's on another level, in my opinion. So Roman Reigns would probably be my guy as far as big name WWE. I can't, but as far as matches coming up on WrestleMania, I love great workers. I think the greatest match coming up on WrestleMania weekend is AJ Styles Edge. I cannot wait to see that match. Love AJ Styles, love Edge. Over on AEW, my guy, he comes from the heel side. If there's a better worker than Bryan Danielson, I'd like you to name him.
Oh, you can.
Bryan Danielson is just amazing. Love Punk, love MJF. There you go.
I'm gonna be very honest with you on the WWE side. I enjoy the women more. Like, I'm a huge fan of Bianca.
Oh yeah,
love Bianca Belair. I really like Liv Morgan too, and I think that they really need to figure something out.
I think her and Rhea, I think they should give them the push on the tag team title matchup.
I want to see them push that tag team.
Yeah, and then also,
I'm pulling for them.
I don't watch NXT often, but I like what they did with Mandy down there. You don't?
Yeah. No, I don't. The NXT probably has wonderful work, but I can't get past the rainbow aesthetics.
Yeah.
I loved the old NXT.
It lost you. It did me too. It kind of it lost me when they did that.
Yeah.
I tried for a little bit, and then
I loved
Cole leaves. Bobby Fish has got.
I loved old NXT.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I loved that.
It was the best WWE product for 2-3 years.
Yep.
So
I love that gritty background and all that. That was black and gold.
Yeah.
Yes, I liked it dark, black and yellow.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was disappointing that they did that.
There's others that I currently like, but those are my favorites that I gave you right now currently.
I'm a huge fan of Sammy Guevara. I love Sammy Guevara. Although I'm very surprised at
he's going to kill himself in 5 years, though.
Well, not as much as Darby's going to.
He's phenomenal to watch, but he's going to kill himself in 5 years.
Darby's the one I worry about. Was it necessary for
him too?
Did you see the stair bump this past week?
Oh, no. Yeah, just on a Wednesday night, let me toss this guy down the stairs.
Yeah, he just I couldn't believe they did that. Did you see the bump, Adam, or not yet?
Yes. And Brandy brought it up. That's a strength of AEW is they only have those 4 shows a year, and they're so memorable. Save that for one of those. I
don't think it's even necessary. We know the guy's crazy.
Remember when we were in Jacksonville and they when Darby won the TN, or he lost, he either won it or lost it, and they put him through that big circle.
Yeah.
Why is that necessary?
He won it. He won it that night, didn't they?
And again, just like this past week's Dynamite, we know if Jeff Hardy sees a roof, he's going to jump off of it. So you can't stop him.
Well, remember the pay-per-view Sting got on top and he jumped on
Oh
the
my
high table.
God.
I'm like, this guy's he's gonna die. He's 62 years old. There's some of it's not, and believe me, I've watched the pay-per-view over again. It's that good.
Yeah, my opinion, what
it was great. But again, that's a pay-per-view. That's my.
Let's go. What is the Queef King? I still can't.
Well, in my opinion, what AEW is doing with the 4 pay-per-views of 4 pay-per-views a year is what WWE should be going back to, because
I agree. I love it.
Yeah, all 4
Honestly,
pay-per-views are memorable.
With WWE, I'm so used to them having I look forward to, because guys, it's very hard for me now. Monday Night Raw is sometimes unwatchable for me, so I don't watch their episodic shows weekly. I will this week because it's the before WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But
I haven't watched Raw in 2.5 to 3 years.
Yeah, see,
give me the highlight hour clips on YouTube.
The only WWE
I
show
don't
I
remember
watched
the last time I watched Raw. I honestly don't.
The only WWE show I watched full through is SmackDown. That's about it.
Yeah, see.
Yeah.
SmackDown, I went to SmackDown in January, and it started off really hot. It was Roman Reigns and Brock. The main event was pretty good, and Seth came out for the dark portion of the show, but the middle of it was crap. I'm like, I don't really give 2 shits.
Yeah, I agree. It's
Happy Corbin and
it's
Mad Dog or Mad.
It starts strong and it'll end strong. Usually, it'll start strong and it'll end strong. The middle's kind of you're losing me. So
exactly. In Monday Night Raw, I gotta get. I don't know. The pandemic did it for me with Monday Night Raw. I used to at least.
Oh, that was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to tape it and religiously watch it. Now I will just go and get the spoilers so I know what's going on. And to be honest with you, WrestleMania is next weekend, and I don't even and by the time this airs, it'll be a week after WrestleMania. But I don't even know what the full card is. I mean, what is? I mean, for WrestleMania 13, I knew every fucking match and I was excited for them. But I know what is it?
Right.
Is Bianca fighting Becky?
Bianca and Becky.
Bianca's fighting Becky.
I know.
By the way, Adam, did you say they can't call her the man anymore?
Yeah, because Ric Flair.
Right, because Ric Flair won. He let her borrow the trademark, and then when around the time he got let go, he asked for it back. He won the decision where WWE cannot market, and she can't refer to herself as the man on WWE TV anymore.
Yeah.
So.
And then you got.
Could she come out and be like, "I'm the woo man"?
No, big time Bex.
Mm-mm. Yeah, so that's why. Yeah, like Antonio says, that's why she's shit the big time Bex.
So the other thing I think is really, really dumb is why didn't they do Becky and Ronda? We're gonna wait another year for that, or then you've got AJ and Edge, you've got Roman and Brock for the 2 titles, you've got I
hope, just to kind of pause you there, I hope they keep that as one belt following. Don't let it just have one champion and then all of a sudden, wait a minute, we got to split it off. Because that's another thing that's driving me crazy on AEW. Why do we still have 2 TNT belts? There should be one TNT champion.
Yeah.
Chip.
I saw earlier there's a leaked photo, I guess like a giant prop of the belt for WrestleMania in Dallas. They're saying it might be the new unified belt with like the black background, but instead of the red stripe at the bottom will be blue. I don't know if that's true or not.
And let me tell you something right now. If they decide that it's going to be one title, it needs to be the World Wrestling Entertainment Championship. It does not need to be the Universal title.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that bullshit.
I agree.
So
I agree. But it'll probably be WWE Universal Champ, World Heavy, whatever. They'll keep both names in there, I'm sure.
The WWE Universal World Heavyweight. I can't even with that.
Universal.
Or drop the WWE off it altogether and call it the Universal
World
Heavyweight Championship.
Well, still, you got to put the what do you got to? It's a WWE title. You got to put it somewhere.
But their logo's on the belt. Why do you need to call it the WWE anything when their corporate logo is already like 95.672% of the belt?
They always mention the WWE.
We know who you are. Yep.
Yeah.
And we don't know why you're here either.
And we don't. You don't know why, and I'm here. So what other matches? Isn't the Mysterios are facing Logan Paul and The Miz?
Yep. Johnny Knoxville's going to wrestle Sami Zayn.
Oh,
yeah.
You got Mac.
Thank God that wasn't for the United States or the Intercontinental Belt.
Yeah, that was a good decision.
However,
Pat McAfee's going to wrestle Brock Lesnar for the WWE title.
Oh yeah, Pat McAfee and Austin Theory.
That's right, Pat McAfee.
Yeah, that should be a fun one.
Are the
Especially if Vince gets involved somehow.
Are the women's tag titles up for grabs?
Yeah, it's a
4-way.
Yep.
So is it Liv and Rhea?
Carmella and Queen Zelina versus Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan versus help me out, I'm drawing a blank.
Natty and
and Shayna.
And
Shayna.
What's the other one? See, I don't even know who the other tag team
Does
is.
Does Shayna have different music now?
No, I think it's the same.
Why the fuck are they not pushing Shayna Baszler?
I don't really know.
Beast in NXT.
Because WWE sucks.
Yep.
She doesn't have enough, I guess, charisma for Vince.
Which is so dumb because
all I can think.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What's Damien Priest up to?
Where did I talk about this?
Yeah.
Anything that doesn't fit in the tiny ass little box that they think is their perfect cookie cutter representation, they don't know what the fuck to do with it.
Look at Karrion Kross. He had the entrance. He had
and their box is like this big at this point.
Yeah, like Karrion
There's
Kross.
nothing.
Let's put a stupid helmet on him and take Scarlett away. Why is that a good decision?
Like that was my favorite entrance of all time.
I mean, I tuned in just for Scarlett.
Yeah.
I mean, most people did, right?
I was always most partial to Kurt Angle's version of Shawn Michaels' theme song with.
Oh yes,
Sexy Kurt. Sexy Kurt.
I'll make your ankle
your ankle hurt.
Fun fact: the rumor and innuendo is that Frank Bruno was at that show, and when he heard Kurt Angle start singing that, he tried to jump the railing.
I'm just happy.
Frank Bruno was not at that show.
I'm just happy your internet's back to normal, Henry.
It's not.
Oh,
Jesus.
Kurt Angle is legitimately not someone you'd want to jump the rail on.
Sorry, Henry. I jinxed you.
No, he would potato the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Potatoes.
Don't try to take on Kurt Angle.
Oh yeah.
This is and guys, I know this is a Sid match, but I don't think it's all that bad.
I will be perfectly honest with you.
It was
turned off the pay-per-view to try to conserve the bandwidth for Mappa, and I've just been listening to you guys the last half hour.
Oh well, I'm sorry, Henry. You're missing.
No, this was a very decent match.
To be fair, the only good 5-star match that Sid Vicious ever had, he almost murdered Brian Pillman not once but twice.
If this was in the Tokyo Dome, Meltzer would give it at least 2 stars.
He would not. This is a WWF match. He'd have given it -3 stars.
But it's the Tokyo Dome. That's worth at least 1.5 stars to Meltzer.
Yeah, you're going from a -5-star match to -3.5.
You're probably right. It'd still be in the negatives.
Yeah.
Oh, shocking. The Hearts are no longer ringside. Did you guys notice that Stu and Helen were ringside?
Stu and Helen are gone.
Yeah, they were. That's a good observation. There's Brett.
Oh, Brett's back. I forgot about that.
Brett's just being a whiny bitch.
Brett's gonna make you know that, hey, I'm pissed off and I'm beating the shit out of anybody.
Now let me ask a question. Why was that not a disqualification?
Yeah, I know.
Hey, that's a very good point.
Choose when to enforce the rules.
It's funny. I mean, so technically, I totally forgot about that part. So Brett softened up. Brett softened up Sid for Undertaker.
Yep.
I can tell you why that wasn't a disqualification.
Why?
This is a no disqualification match.
Oh, it is?
Was it an ODQ? Okay. There you go. At least it makes sense then.
Well, hold on a second. Henry, who puts our show together, is absolutely right. Had I turned my fat head left, I would have seen that it was a no disqualification match for the WWF Championship. What a shithead I am.
Well, thanks for pointing that out, because then it makes sense, Henry. So good.
Another thing, was Earl Hebner the referee?
Yes.
Yeah. He's
Yes.
the ref right
Hold
now.
on.
Look at you, Henry. You're in blind right now.
Speaking of which, I listened to Reffing It Up. That was actually good for the first episode.
Was that good?
Yeah.
Okay.
And for those of you
I
who
just
don't
really
know,
don't. If I'm honest, I don't have any more time for podcasts between my filter-free network and ad-free shows. I think
for
my
those of
poor
you that
daughter
do,
and wife are
Lance
probably like, "You
Royale,
neglect us enough."
Yeah.
So here's my take on it. Go ahead. Go ahead, Brady.
Are you calling
RJ
Henry?
Krasinski, who is a top guy, friend of the show, who also hosts Ringside Rant with our friend Justin Davis, has a new podcast with Brian Hebner, baby Hebner, Earl's son, called Reffin' It Up.
Yeah.
My thing with here's what, and I've said this to RJ. I was able to get a advanced copy. Undertaker is the new WWF champion. I was able to get an advanced a copy of the show, and I listened to it. And I'm going to be critical here. Most of the show was really, really good. In fact, I told him he hooked me when they started talking about the Jeff Hardy Sting thing.
Yeah, that's where I got hooked.
Hooked me, hook, line, and sinker. But he started the show, and his exact words were, "Scott Hall went out on his own terms, but it wasn't the way he wanted." First of all, I don't think breaking your hip, lying on a floor for 2 days, and then dying of 3 heart attacks is going out the way that you want. So, I highly encouraged him to take that out, and he didn't. So, stupid thing to do and say. But the rest of the show was actually pretty good. So, but I'm going to say this: I don't see Ringside Rant or Reffing It Up putting us over. So let's just fuck the topic right now. Let's
There you go.
Let's talk about the fact that I love the Winged Eagle. So the new WWF champion is the Undertaker after 3 motherfucking run-ins from Bret Hart. We're going to end the show, and we end it by always going around the room, getting our final thoughts. What you're gonna do when Hebnermania runs by you? I think Henry's enjoying the producer thing a little bit too much. Adam,
of the last 2 shows, we've seen Earl Hebner like 18 times.
Okay.
You can't get enough video time, brother.
He's pretty prevalent in this era, right? I do want to encourage everyone to check out prowrestlingtees.com/Top Guy Theater, or just search Top Guy Theater, because our new logo, the new Wrestlemania inspired Top Guy Theater, Wrestlemania, the original Wrestlemania logo, inspired gear is there. We're really excited about that, and I would love to see people repping it. So, Adam, your thoughts on WrestleMania 13?
My thoughts on WrestleMania 13. Good show. I give it a thumbs up overall. Again, I thought we didn't talk about it, but I thought the Gold Dust Triple H, of course he was Hunter Hearst Helmsley then, was a very good match. Street Fight was entertaining at times. As we said, this was a good match, but of course, I mean, that Bret Hart Steve Austin match is just absolutely legendary. Again, if somebody said, hey, if you know somebody who's not a wrestling fan, if you could give them one match to try to turn them into a wrestling fan, I'd show them the little package before that and have them watch that match, and I think they would at least be intrigued. So can't put that match over enough. Good show.
I'm sorry, I just heard Adam.
Those are my highlights.
He's going to show somebody his little package. Is that what?
Oh,
I'm just joking.
Betting on a fur coat, basically, me and Shabani.
I'm a fat guy, so it's like a mountain on a fur coat. Brady, your thoughts on this? Henry number 3. Jesus Christ.
Well, you called her Henry.
I always enjoy the shows that we watch. I think we had a lot of really good discussions today, but I would encourage everyone to go back and reminisce and maybe see some things that you wouldn't normally see, and kind of look for the things that we talked about. Look for the areas where they slowed it down and weren't too like going too fast or have too many moves, and see if you can see where the real magic is made.
I think what we should do, you're talking about when we go back and we watch these old shows, well, we should do a Top Guy Theater Classics on the Super Class 3 episode that I downloaded today. That'd be something fun to go back and
Only
volunteer.
if we do it with Pondwater Dave.
Okay.
Coming soon to Top Guy Theater.
Queef King Henry #2. It was so glad that I'm honestly thrilled to have you back.
Thank you.
Your brand of in your sense of humor, we love you and we missed you. But what are your thoughts on WrestleMania 13?
Yeah, it was a good show. It's even better talking with you guys while doing that. I mean, just learn from being away from a while and then getting back into it. Just want to get back in the swing of things.
Yeah, it'll take it takes time. We're honestly glad you're here. That's really all I cared about. Wow, WrestleMania 14 starting on mine.
Yeah, I'm about to watch it.
Henry, my man, internet problems.
Thank you for not calling me Henry #1.
You're
the
the original and extra sexy Henry. How about that?
Henry the prequel.
Okay, I can deal with that. I think for what I got to see of what I booked, WrestleMania 13 was a decent show. Adam was right. We had to cut it because of time constraints, but the Goldust Triple H match is one of the better matches on the card, I think. And because I didn't get to do it earlier, and I suspect I'm going to cut out in about 30 seconds or so, I still think that Bret Hart, Steve Austin should have been the main event of this show, mostly because your most credible heel your champion is Psycho Sid. And I say this not to be offensive, because I'm sure Sid still has like 2 or 3 fans out there somewhere in listener land. I would much rather gouge my eyeballs out than ever again watch Sid in the main event of a WrestleMania. Vince McMahon failed his mistake at WrestleMania 8 when he closed the show with Hulk Hogan. And it bothers me now that he went back to that mistake, only this time, he was the fucking champion. He was the fucking WWE champion.
So
he was the main event at WrestleMania, and the motherfucker can't wrestle.
So, Henry, are you saying you'd rather see this?
Oh, there's some titties.
But
Not the
overall,
good kind. Brandy, we're going to have to ask you to trump him, please. No.
Yeah, please.
No.
I think WrestleMania 13 was an excellent show. I'd recommend going back watching it. And to my internet company, even though you're probably never going to see this, fuck you. Fuck you long and fuck you hard.
Okay.
Wow.
And
All
Henry,
right,
just so you can remember, don't worry. After this, softball season. No more sit.
So,
Right.
Either.
My,
Oh no, that's
I look-
WrestleMania 12. I'm sorry.
I've never told the story before, so we're going to close the show with it. But WrestleMania 13 I loved it, but it was also the day after I was in my very first car accident. And I totaled my parents' car that I had learned to drive on. Here's the kicker. I wasn't actually driving. I just took the rap for it because my friend Justin, who's been on the show before, stole it. Then went behind Walmart, went about 65 miles an hour, couldn't cut the wheel in time, and went into the woods and totaled the car. I took the rap for it, which my parents figured out about a year later, and I didn't drive for about 2 years. So this was March 23rd, 1997. The accident happened March 22nd, 1997.
Yeah, I wish I could go back in time and tell you nothing good ever happens behind a Walmart.
Behind a Walmart.
Well,
yeah,
you would know
bingo.
that.
Life advice.
So I just want to thank Adam. Loved having you here. I know we had been working on this for about four weeks, and I've seen you around, and I wanted to talk to you. This show is about getting to know people, inclusion, and learning about other ad-free show members. It's not just about going back and watching an old wrestling show. It's about talking what we love. And You brought the heat tonight, and that was awesome. Even though you're a Patriot fan, it's okay. We love you. Still.
We've all got our weaknesses or faults, but I want to say thank you. I love being here. Anytime you guys want me to hang out, just let me know. I'm always down for it.
Yeah, we will, because you know what we like to do is we'll bring you in as a guest host when one of us can't make it. So and we've done that with Adam from Bama, Devin,
Michael Amen, Mark
Michael
Nelson,
Amen,
basically
Mark Nelson.
anybody who's ever been a guest that we just
Yeah.
want to hang out with again. We just bring him back.
Well, since Adam has the same initials as I do, he could be my substitute.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
There we go. We're both asses. We're both asses, Antonio.
Yep, we're asses. We're asses.
All right.
For life.
For the crew,
my ass is great.
Oh, mine's flat.
And if you're a part of our Patreon, this episode is going to get uploaded by tomorrow, so you'll get to see this before April 8th.
Oh,
So,
they get to see.
Filter-free net, $10 dummy head. It's a steal.
it really is.
You get to see us filtered early, ad-free, and not edited.
Yeah,
So
I don't edit a
gets
thing.
left on the
Yes.
cutting room floor?
When we had the AFS Wolfpack on here, I didn't edit a thing. So there's some very raunchy things that took place on that show that did not hit YouTube. So, on that note, I'm going to play the outro.
Hold it.
What?
Why did Brandy scream?
She has a great scream.
Oh, Antonio. Oh, you whipped the tit out? Okay. All right. We got to go.
14 WrestleManias.
A leg drop, an elbow smash, a body slam.
Are you ready to fight?
Who will survive?